admission scandal.
I've actually finished like 10 TV shows in the last 6 months.
Isn't that nice? Glad we're paying for that education. So you
We're getting homework.
You can watch TV and not do your homework.
Another actress, Desperate Housewives Felicity Huffman, is also charged. She's accused of paying $15,000 to get one of their daughter's SAT scores boosted with help from the same fake charity.
I want to model for my daughters having a woman of agency, having a voice in the world. And that means having influence and having power, and to tell you the truth, having money.
And in a tweet just last year, Lori Loughlin wrote, "There are more important things than money, like doing the right thing, words to live by."
And to me,
topic.
I have to say this because, first of all, community colleges are great, and it ties into, because the first 2 years of any college experience.
Bullshit. It's total bullshit.
Those first
4 courses.
I swear to God, I don't remember going to class. I don't remember. I remember my friends and the parties we went to. I don't remember sitting in class and okay, yep. Very few moments, and that is surprising to me. It sort of comments on.
Okay, so I got a couple great stories for you that I got to jump in. And one is I cheated my way through high school, and it wasn't community college I went to. I went to a local 2-year religious, but I called community college because people can relate. But it was a very smaller than my high school college, called Dominican College. But that's not important. What's important to the story is I cheated my way through
Christian middle school. Yeah,
I cheated my way through a physics class with a very upscale, rich kid and I will not out him because I'm sure he has a career now. And this kid, I did not do this. He was a friend of mine. Again, I don't know why. I think he was. I don't want to tell how we were related, but how we knew each other. He broke into the physics teacher's classroom, into his back room. He got all his physics labs, and we copied every one of those physics labs, and then handed them in as if they were our own. So I completely cheated for the physics labs. I did take the test on my own. The physics regions.
I don't want to out him, but his name rhymes with Lark Muckerberg.
I wish.
Yeah.
But I would out him, and he is a so wealthy family. So getting back to the topic, I don't want to get off topic. I just think it's a great story that, again, people... And so I'm not that smart. I had to cheat through different courses. I cheated at Dominican College. Some math courses, we always ended up getting the tests. I don't know how somebody was getting the test, and we would cheat off that. So I cheated through Dominican College. So my thing is, what we said is I always try to be as honest as I can. It's not going to affect my career. But the thing about this scandal is 2 things, right? One is, it's not shocking. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that this happens all the time. Number 2 is, you want to shock me? Put somebody in jail. If that dude goes to jail, great. But no one's going to jail. He's getting out in 6 months to a year. It's not a scandal. It's going to continue to happen. It's never going to stop. It's the way the world works.
People are talking about the 2 actresses, right? Felicia, whatever.
Yeah, I don't even know who they are.
Yeah, and the lady.
I mean, no offense to them. I don't know who Lori Loughlin is. I don't know who she is.
Aunt Becky was the mother from Full House, but they keep focusing on those names. But it was a network of people, and this was a small sampling of these schools, right? It's going all over the place, and all these other schools, and this is the real definition of Illuminati. Okay, this is what people really mean by the Illuminati, without them really.
Yeah, that term is not a good term. It's the worst term.
It's not a good
Illuminati
term
is the worst.
That puts it in the realm of conspiracy theory, and
or devil worship, or it's like devil worship, or it's a otherworldly powers. It's Middle Earth. It's rich people scamming the system all the time, running the whole board, man, doing whatever the fuck they want and paying no consequences. I'm surprised they don't come in here and raid my house. Take me away to Zuckerberg's compound.
But it's that old philosophy of the best way to hide the truth is in between 2 lies, because then people discount it all together. But that is sort of the Illuminati. That's what really people mean, that it's a secret, hidden world where people manipulate things and do things to further their own people. And so no one else has access to that. You can call it the 1% or whatever, but that's how they will use that money to further it. And you also have these people, they were talking about the the legacy students. Just because you're the son of or daughter of someone famous or someone who's already gone to these schools, you get a free pass to go, no matter how much of an idiot. So, and then they leave with a Harvard degree, and all that does is further that Illuminati, right? And people can't enter it. And then you got other people, affirmative action is ruining these schools, and all these people complaining because they know, and they can't always articulate it, that they have a disadvantage to people who have all the advantages. So to see someone who already has all this access, you're rich and you're famous and you have a fucking idiot kid, they should struggle at least to get into these schools, right? So it's really infuriating. It's not about celebrity. It's about that bigger sort of thing, and this ties into all these ideas of like free college education. It's less of a monetary issue. It's more about giving people access to education to make the entire country better, right? And to sort of counter this Illuminati, right? So I don't know. It's just
the best part about that, though, Curtis, is like using the term Illuminati just brings out like you're gonna get a lot of fans after that. You're gonna get a lot of those crazy people who talk about Illuminati all the time, and they take it into the other weird area, and you're like, no, dude, that's not really the way. I'm talking about basically the rich just running the whole board, and we don't know how we're gonna. Yeah, but what about? Then they start bringing up other stuff, and you're like, no, not so much that. But you'll get a lot of followers. You get a lot of crazy people.
I hate people who.
We got a group, Curtis. Come on down. We got a group. We're gonna break the system. You break the system. Go find good candidates who are super progressive, who want unions. That's your only shot in hell. Not a very good chance. Not a very good chance it's going to happen. Get on the Bernie Sanders bandwagon. I'll do whatever I can to help you to get back with Bernie. Yeah. He's our only chance. There's no other candidate there that's going to do the job. We're going to go back to the same. If you're afraid of the Illuminati, get with Bernie Sanders and try to calm down the Illuminati talk. Try to come in and if you can get yourself back to being a progressive and get away from this crazy Illuminati and start to organize locally. It's so important to be in unions and to organize and try to keep, I don't know how to say it without, lack of better words, but the crazy shit's got to be toned down just a little bit, man. Let's just try to focus on the organization, some of the general principles of what might break this system, which is unions and voting and getting candidates in. Yeah,
Bernie just unionized his organization.
Yes, man, it's a big story.
You're doing a lot of union stuff, but I'll let you get into that. But people tune out when you start talking about, we need to, weaken the banks and the pharmaceutical company and free college education. People tune out. If you could communicate to them in a way that, like the Illuminati, that's what that really is. It's that secret backroom deals where money is just flowing from one person who's an Illuminati member to another Illuminati organization, who are sort of controlling things and furthering their own interests that have zero. We don't need any of the structure the way it is. The way the pharmaceutical industry. We know this because all these other countries who are doing it in a completely different way. We just do it because we do it. It's a capitalistic society. It's an Illuminati society, right? That's what it really is. So, I only want to ever speak to people who are intelligent and critical and rational enough to understand it, But it also will appeal to people who are sort of clueless. If you go, don't you understand all of this stuff that Bernie's talking about?
Excuse me.
Is what you perceive as the Illuminati. So you want to get behind him to shut that shit down. I like Bernie. I like Tulsi, and I haven't looked at all the other.
Let's go full circle on this because we started the show about like why we're back together again and why we're doing this, and the truth of it really was that we clicked comically, but then we clicked with Bernie. We were like, yeah, we totally get Bernie is the answer. This is the way we're going. Okay, so let's just leave that there. That's where we're really connected because we know. Okay, then we know everything that we agree on. I compare it to when people go to Vegas. When you go to Vegas, you know exactly what the deal is. You're not confused. You know what Vegas is all about. You know what Bernie is. He's 40 years progressive, always been ahead of the curve, always tried to have integrity and do the right thing. Yes, he has flaws. Yes, he's made some bad policy. Yes. But he's still the best answer. And today he's still the best answer. Beto is not the answer. Kamala's not the answer.
I I hate Kamala. I hate Elizabeth Warren.
And look, this is when it's going to get painful. Tulsi does not have,
Cory
again,
Booker,
I use the word gravitas. Tulsi's just not going to have whatever Bernie had. He was able to just rise from the ranks. And again, he's doing it. I'm really impressed because before I had stuff to talk about with Bernie before. Like I was saying, Bernie's not doing this right. He's giving the same speech every time he goes somewhere. He's doing the same damn speech. It's not going to work. You got to go to each state and say, here's what's wrong with your state. This is what you guys need to focus on here.
Yeah.
You know, he goes to Iowa and he goes, it's corporate farming that's fucking things up here. Look into it. You know, when he was in New York City, he's like, let me make a differential between me and Trump. He's trying to like make these speech interesting. You're going against a master gaslighter, con man. This guy is again, and I use a weird extreme.
He's brilliant. Trump is brilliant at what he does.
Exactly, and people don't want to give him credit for that, and that's a big mistake.
But
it's a big mistake. He's not in the position he's in because he's stupid. He knows how to manipulate.
Politics. He's a Tyson in the ring. No one does what he does better, and it confuses the simple mind.
And people are going to be upset when I say, Tulsi's not the answer. She's not going to have the weight. And
but I like
she's great. She's great, but she's not going to.
But what about a Bernie Tulsi ticket?
That's fine, but she's not going to out-talk Bernie, and she's not going to there's not going to be more momentum for the only person who has any chance, and I'm still to this day say, I don't know if Bernie can beat Trump. I don't know. It's going to be I believe it's going to be razor thin. If they allow him to become the candidate, which I don't think they will either. Right. I still think they're going to steal it from him. I have all those fears. But the problem is when you go out and talk to these people.
They're all about Kamala.
But so many people are jaded. So it's going to be so hard to bring back the same momentum. So the other thing I want to talk about is, I went to his first opening speech in Brooklyn. And I don't know if we talked about this or texted. To me, the first event in Brooklyn, and I want to be careful how I term this. It was a bit disturbing. I was a little bit.
No, don't be careful.
I was a little discouraged. No, I'm just trying to get the right words. I was a little discouraged in the turnout. I thought in his backyard, even though the weather was bad, it was rainy, snowy, and cold. I thought it should have been a sellout. I thought it should have been like, oh my God, there's way too many people here. It wasn't. There was space in the place where they'd put the rally and the gates to control the crowd. There was plenty of space. Nobody was like, oh, I might die here. This could get really bad. This could become a bad situation. There wasn't people outside trying to get in. There wasn't people in the trees. Now, the weather was bad. Speech was great. Nina Turner stole the show. She definitely had a lot more energy and a great speech. Check it out.
All over, can you raise your hands? With these hands, we're going to transform this country in a way that they've never seen before. With these hands, we will have Medicare for all. With these hands, we will have college for all. With these hands, we will make sure that the working poor and barely middle class in this country have a system that answers to them. With these hands, we will rise.
But he also was very good, and he's changing the game. So I have no complaints against Bernie. I know his fault. I know gun control is going to be a major factor that they're going to go after him because now the Sandy Hook people are suing. So Sandy Hook people got the clearance from the Supreme Court to sue Remington.
Those families asked to be allowed to sue the company for making the Bushmaster rifle that was used in the Sandy Hook shooting. 20 children and 6 educators died during that shooting in December of 2012. Now, before today, a lower court had dismissed this lawsuit, saying that Remington could not be sued because federal laws protect gun makers from liability when their products are used in crimes.
That's going to be one of his Achilles' heel. They're going to go after that. Oh, Bernie doesn't want to sue the gun lobbies. So the gun companies, excuse me, not lobbies, gun companies. So
here's the thing. I mean, a couple of things. Bernie's consistency, the same old speech, is also sort of one of his assets. Whether or not it resonates or not is another question. Because you can
I know why he did it. I know why he did it. He's trying to.
I know, but you can literally go back to the 80s and you can read things he's written and look at his speeches, and it's the exact same speech. And so most politicians don't say that. I mean, you got Kamala, you got Cory Booker, you got Beto, all these other frauds, and they will adapt. They sort of do that Hillary dance, and you're like, there's no history to these people. Their words coming out of their mouth don't resonate with me. They don't. But when Bernie speaks with the same old boring speech, I've heard this before, Bernie, he has all that history, and you're like, well, he's just speaking. The reason it sounds the same because he's real. He's saying the same thing. And
no, but I'm just saying. No, I'm not saying to beat Trump. To beat a Trump, you can't do that. To beat a Trump, you cannot do that. But I'm saying he's switching the game up, and I'm impressed. So I don't really have a lot of critiques.
Let me tell you something about Tulsi. I mean, I was leading into this because neither Bernie or Tulsi ever say anything that they don't believe. Where most politicians will he and haw and try to adapt to their audience. Like Bernie, one of the things that might hit Bernie because of he had low black support is that like he went on the Breakfast Club.
What about when Donald Trump goes at you and he's a nasty individual?
Calls you crazy, Bernie.
Are you ready to go?
You remind him of Doc Brown off Back to the Future.
Now, did he say that, or did you make that up? You made that up. See, I knew
you writing the speeches for him?
I knew you made that up.
Don't give him an idea, man.
I knew you made that up.
Which is a very popular black.
Oh man, I didn't see that
radio station.
Really cool.
And he spoke with them, and they've upped their political game. They've spoken to Bernie. They spoke to Andrew Yang, who's no one knows who Andrew Yang is, but he did very well.
He's all over Facebook though. He's got a lot of Facebook ads out there.
Yeah,
so I know who he is.
He's rising up through there.
Best way we can empower African American businesses to put money into the hands of African American consumers.
I think $2,000. I think you should think $2,000.
Did you hear what you just said? That's real.
No.
The best way to power African American businesses, put money in the hands of African American consumers. Yes.
That's why I think you should do $2,000 a month.
Oh my gosh, Envy.
Anyway, we're gonna start with start with one, and then maybe my second term when everyone's loving that first dividend, be like, hey man, I gotta
you don't think black people deserve a little bit more because of slavery,
at least
because of segregation?
I read Ta-Nehisi Coates, and I 100% agree with the moral case for reparations. This country was built on the backs of slaves, and there's no two ways about it. So to me, the question is, what can we get done? There's nothing that we can do as a society that would actually undo that harm or make that right. There is no redoing history. But the path forward to me, if we put this dividend in place, then at least it starts strengthening communities, and then we can take real steps forward towards hopefully, again, can't make things right, but hopefully you can start moving things in the right direction.
Andrew Yang, I like you, sir.
Oh, thank you, man. I like you too.
I like you.
And other people they've spoken to on that show, Kamala went there. I didn't watch Kamala because she's everyone's new Hillary. But here's what I like. Like one of the things that we talked about were reparations for the black community, et cetera. And he was like, well, I don't think we need to just write a blank check. I think there are better ways to do that by helping everybody.
Now, why does it seem like this week you've been kind of dodging the reparations question? Senator Harris and Senator Warren have both kind of spoken out and said that they agree with some form of reparations.
Well, what the question is, I'm not dodging the question. The question is, what do we mean by reparations? I mean, it seems to me a lot of people mean a lot of different things. To my mind, it means that we have to deal with the fact that there is enormous disparity between the black community and the white community, and that issue has got to be addressed. And I've indicated to you some of the ways that I think it should be addressed.
Well, I think they mean some type of economic empowerment to the African descendants of slaves.
But what does that mean, economic empowerment? I just talked about the fact that I would do my best to change the banking system to make sure that we end racism, that we pay attention to distressed communities, that people get the loans they need to make the investments they need.
What about straight cash payouts?
No.
How much you want, Sean?
Agree with that? Why don't you agree with that?
Well, first of all, you mean just a check to every African American?
Yes.
Well, then there's a check to every Native American who were nearly wiped out when the settlers first came here. I think the way we go forward is to build America together. There are distressed communities, white communities, there are distressed Latino communities. Right now, what you have is a government owned and controlled by big money interests who worries about Wall Street and the drug companies. We're going to change that. And we're going to pay attention to the needs of working families and low-income families in this country in a way that you have never seen.
But this government has also systemically oppressed us in a way that they haven't oppressed other communities, through slavery, through segregation, now mass incarceration.
And
I think it should be something done specifically for African Americans.
Well, and all of those issues, all right, we are going to deal with mass incarceration. And we're going to invest, I think at the end of the day, if we end the discrimination that exists in financial services, in healthcare, in education, if we guarantee healthcare to all people, if we, and we're working on a particular program, make sure that every person in this country has a job, because there's enough work to be done dealing with climate change, dealing with our crumbling infrastructure, I would suggest to you that not only the African American community, but every community will be a hell of a lot better off than they are today.
Do you think Democrats really believe in reparations for African Americans, or is it just a good talking point for this campaign cycle?
I don't want to speak for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't resonate well with that audience because they were like, give me a check. I don't want a reparation check. I think by making the whole structure better for everybody, then people are going to be like, oh, we have this. But
because you know what? And you know what? He can't say why he's saying that. He's like, reparations is never going to happen. It's never going to happen. We can do this,
but it's sort of racist too. It's sort of racist because a reparation check for black people favors reparation check for the Asians who were locked up in jail.
Right, you can go down the line from there.
Gay people, disabled people, women. So, but let me finish this point. So he doesn't say that where other people will, and the problem is not what he's saying. Is the problem is like Trump will just say whatever for the people. He gives people what they want to hear, right? And people vote by that. People go, I like this guy has swag, then I'm going to vote for him. They only listen to what people say.
I'm asking for the vote of every single African American citizen in this country who wants to see a better future. Look how much African American communities have suffered under Democratic control. To those I say the following: what do you have to lose by trying something new like Trump? What do you have to lose?
And there's some defect in their brain where they actually think someone's going to be like, hey, by the way, I hate black people and F them, right? No one's ever going to say they're running for president. What Bernie won't do is just say something to make someone feel good. And let me tell you something about Tulsi. Like, her big missteps were, like her history with her father was like, I hate gay people and everything else. And she's this dumb kid going, yes, Dad. But that's how people get their entire religion.
What are your favorite signs?
Fags doom nations.
God
I like that
you.
sign.
God hates you.
What does that mean?
Fags doom nations. It means that there's so many fags in these nations all around that.
What's a fag?
A fag is someone who, I can't really explain that.
A fag is someone who does not obey the word of God. I guess you could say a fag is a Jew, pretty much. But some fags call themselves Christians, but they make up their own gods, and that's just plain wrong.
Her father was a religious guy who was like, I hate gay people, right? And he raised his daughter in that mold. And everybody who has a belief got it essentially from their parents, and they grew up with that. So I don't fault her for that. What she did, which is what most people do not do, is they go, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense to me, right? And so she rejected that. That's how you can tell someone's character, is that they don't fight for what they were taught. They fight for what they critically, once they get old enough to believe.
Now, I grew up knowing that every person is a child of God and equally loved by God. And I've always believed in the fundamental rights and equality of all people. But I also grew up in a socially conservative household where I was raised to believe that marriage should only be between a man and a woman. So for a period of my life, I didn't see the contradiction in those beliefs. While many Americans may be able to relate to growing up in a conservative home, my story's a little different because my father was very outspoken. He was an activist who was fighting against gay rights and marriage equality in Hawaii. And at that time, I forcefully defended him and his cause. But over the years, as I grew up, I formed my own opinions based on my life experiences that significantly changed my views.
I encountered Tulsi in person the first time. I went to a Reason rally a couple of years ago. And a Reason rally is basically a science rally. It's outside. And, you know, a lot of people who are pro-science, a lot of people who are atheists and stuff like that, they're anti sort of, you know, mixing religion with government. They want separation of religion from government. Tulsi showed up to this rally here in D.C., and it blew my mind because she had her own beliefs, and her whole speech was like, I just want people to be able to believe whatever they want to believe.
Nothing is more important to me, and nothing was more important to our founding fathers than freedom of religion. The freedom of every individual to follow the spiritual path of our choice or to follow no religion at all.
Again, there was no reason for her to be there. To me, it looked like a political, you know, the optics of her appearing at this Reason rally, to me, was like, this could be devastating. Because for a lot of people, they just consider it an atheist convention. And she got up there and she spoke, I'm not here to promote this or that. I'm here to, I support people's right to choose what they believe. And so that's the way she thinks. She's like, it's not about me, it's about your ability to choose. And then, of course, I met her. I was in a vegan restaurant, and I was talking to my girlfriend at the time. Shout out to Becca. Sorry that I messed up everything. And she saw us talking, and I didn't realize she was there. And she saw, I think, this was during the DNC in Philadelphia. And I think she saw a little sticker on the back of my iPhone, and it said Bernie or something on it. And she interrupted our conversation. And she was like, hey, I couldn't help but notice your Bernie thing. And we had a small talk. We were sitting right next to our tables. And her overarching message was like, keep the fight going. And I'm just some black guy. I had a wife beater shirt on because it was ridiculously hot in Philly. I was sweating. I was in this very nice vegan restaurant. And I looked like a mess, right? And she was like, hey, so the way she spoke, she wasn't running for president. This is 2016. But the way she engaged me, you could tell it was a sincere, she was like, oh, there's someone like-minded. And she stepped out of it, and I got a picture with her. So these two, you know, anecdotal moments with Tulsi.
That was Tulsi Gabbard did that? That's crazy.
That was Tulsi Gabbard. We were sitting next to each other, and those two people, you know, next to
wow.
that I didn't know. And so that was my second interaction with her, and each time she showed me who she was in a way that Bernie. So her missteps, her historical missteps, weren't missteps because she corrected them, not in a Hillary way.
Welcome to South Carolina. We're so glad to have you back.
Thank you so much.
I'm Nikki Hall. This is my stepmother, Carolyn. How are you, Carolyn? Good to see you. Thank you so much.
You can give this a good recommendation. Oh,
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Here we are at the home. Yeah, home. Oh my God! How long have you? Hello in there. How are you all?
Secretary Clinton here in Oakland.
Where she says, oh, by the way, I decided now that I believe this. She got old enough to start thinking for herself. And when she did, she rejected nonsense that her parents taught her.
Just know that Christ can save you from that lifestyle.
Yeah, I like ass. I'm not going to be saved by anything. I'd fuck Christ in the ass, okay? He's hot.
So I would be in full support. And her views on war, she goes on The View, and these people are like, I don't want to listen to any of your nonsense. And she's like, no, let me explain it to you.
First, thank you for your service, which is something I say to everyone who has served that comes on the show, and I think it's important. That being said, My understanding is you know how I feel about your stance on foreign policy, and when I hear the name Tulsi Gabbard, I think of an Assad apologist. I think of someone who comes back to the United States and is spouting propaganda from Syria. You have said that the Syrian President Assad is not the enemy of the United States, yet he's used chemical weapons against his own people 300 times. That was a red line with President Obama. That is not our enemy. 13 million Syrians have been displaced. So when you say regime change is hurtful for the country, but gassing children isn't more hurtful, it's hard for me to understand where you come from a humanitarian standpoint if you were to become president.
Well, you're putting words in my mouth that I've never said.
You did not say that Syrian President Assad is not the enemy of the United States. Say it now, clarify.
The issue here is how can we help alleviate the suffering of people?
Just really one moment. Is he an enemy of the United States?
An enemy of the United States is someone who threatens our safety and our security. There is no disputing the fact that Bashar al-Assad in Syria is a brutal dictator. There is no disputing the fact that he has used chemical weapons and other weapons against his people. There are other terrorist groups in Syria who have used similar chemical weapons and other weapons of terror against the people of Syria. This is an unfortunate thing that wrenches at every one of our hearts. This is not something I'm disputing, nor am I apologizing or defending these actions. My point is that the reality we are facing here is that since the United States started waging a covert regime change war in Syria, starting in 2011, the lives of the Syrian people have not been improved. Their well-being has not gotten to a better place. Their suffering has not decreased. It has increased, in addition to the fact that Al-Qaeda is stronger in Syria today than ever before. So not only are we dealing with the fact that this regime change war we've been waging in Syria has not helped the Syrian people, it has made their lives worse off.
It has also his people
it has also
either.
undermined our national security, leaving us in a place where Al-Qaeda is a stronger threat there than they ever have been before.
Tulsi.
And Iran has greater influence in Syria than ever before.
Tulsi.
And she didn't Hall, and her views were unpopular, and she stood there and explained it. And I said, she's doing that Bernie thing. Okay, so I think a Bernie and a Tulsi ticket would be great. People who just vote for women, that would be great. But people who vote on her understanding of war and not just regime change and everything else, I think she's the real deal. And when Bernie and when she announced her presidential campaign and Bernie was out there, I don't know if you saw it, but they released a picture of both Bernie and Tulsi holding hands, and all you could see was their hands holding, and saying, more conversation, more dialogue in this political space is good. And so they were united at the very beginning of this election process, saying, we're not competing, but we're out here to speak on something. So I would be ecstatic if it would be a Bernie Tulsi ticket. I think that would be a killer ticket.
It could very well happen. Three things about that. One is the mic is crackling a little bit. I changed both headsets. I thought that would throw you off. I like your in the middle of the thing shout out, like you're on Love Radio. I like that. I caught that. A little trying to make some amends there. And the Tulsi story, that's that when you get touched by someone like that, and there's some genuineness in a person, that does change your view of them.
Right.
What I like, about
them, it was experiencing them, right?
Yeah. What I'm trying to do, and you know a little bit of this, is that yes, I have become a shop steward at my job. I just enrolled in classes for being a shop steward. There's so much to learn about a union. I was sworn in. I had to read the oath to become a shop steward. You have to read an oath of a constitution. It's a very engaging speech. I still have to get the constitution. I have to start to read it. I have to know my contract. So I am involved with my involved with my union heavily, which was something I always avoided. We actually have a union meeting coming up March 28th. I am trying to get involved locally with the Bernie Sanders campaign in any way that I can. So when I do these casts, the reason why I went to Weed Man Joint is to have a perspective. The reason why I went to the Bernie Sanders rally, not only was it historic, but I need to go there and report what I see honestly. And I also felt, so not only was the turnout poor, I felt like their organizing efforts, they had this long line of people, and they should have went up to each person and said, do you want to volunteer for the Bernie Sanders campaign? What is your borough? Here is your contact person for that. And they did not do that. They were going out and asking about volunteering, but the guy who was doing it was not going to each person. Hello, are you interested in volunteering? Here's all the information. So again, I was like, this is not a good sign to me. This the way they're doing this is not well organized. And it's just, to me, in the last election, so people understood, I was in from the very beginning. People are saying, oh, you jumped on. There was a guy doing a comedian bit last night on the show. He's like, a lot of people jumped in late. I was early on involved making phone calls for Bernie Sanders when they had the rules in New York City that you had to have your affiliation changed by October, the rule was. And if you didn't have your affiliation changed, you couldn't vote to the primaries, and people were totally mind blown. So we were phone banking, and I was like, these numbers are not moving. Like we do not have a lot of volunteers right now phone banking for New York City. This is not a good sign. So that from the very beginning, I knew this is not that I didn't know it was rigged, but I was like, we're probably not going to make it anyway because we don't have the volunteers. So again, with the unionization and possible volunteering, my point is this. If you're out there still just bitching and moaning that you feel like you got jammed, as they say, by Bernie Sanders or the DNC, and that's what's holding you back, you're making a big mistake. You got to get out there and do something. You got to get out there and I don't care what it is. Join, like you said, join a sanctuary or do something progressive. Don't sit there and bitch and moan about it and get back involved in some way. If politics isn't your thing, then I don't know, pick something else. Pick out something else that you could work towards that's progressive in nature. Don't just be like, I throw my hands up at the Illuminati. I give up to the Illuminati. I got my fire stick. I got my, I'm good.
Here's the thing, and we have to close out here.
We do.
We have to close out here. So let me end with this. That's going to be the biggest obstacle for Bernie, is because people were swept up by him with so much emotion and passion, and that's an emotion. That's a human experience, and that same emotion is why I think he's very dangerously in trouble in terms of people so burnt out emotionally from the last experience. So I don't know how many younger people are entering his campaign. I don't know how many new people or old people, not by age, but from the previous election, are just like, F Bernie. And other people are like, I'm done. I don't have enough energy to do this again. And, Democratic turnout, independent, progressive turnout is always a challenge because Republicans are so gung-ho with, build the wall, that they always come out to vote. And so if he's lacking, not for anything he's doing, just from that population that doesn't have the energy or the strength to do this again, he's going to need a lot of new people, the younger people who were inspired, and they're not jaded like the older people by age were then, and they can pick up the mantle. So that's going to be the challenge. And so, this live stream was fun for me. Some of what I've been tinkering with in my absence is doing, like documentaries and stuff like that. And so I might just play that out as the ending, and maybe we'll get the chance to do this again. Congratulations on your Real Progressives possibility for you to find an avenue to explore some of these things. If that all falls apart, then there's an opportunity here for us to continue doing this. These conversations are just fun. I literally don't care who sees them. They're just fun. As a little aside, the way this conversation started was Matt texted me, and he's like, oh, I got some stuff going on. I want to talk to you about it. And so then we called, and we spoke on the phone for about 30 seconds. And the conversation basically consisted of this. Hey, I got so much stuff going on. Okay, well, I don't want to hear it, because if we're going to do a live stream, tell me there. So I just hope that.
And I said, okay, bye.
Bye. We hung up, and then we set up stuff. I had to literally download software that I use because I had uninstalled it and removed it and configure it. So that's why we don't have any sort of graphics or anything else like that, which we don't need, but just reference some of our things. I can add that later. But it just shows you where our passion comes from. It's just the passion of conversation, connecting, talking about things that interest us, and we want to save it for the show only because we want to keep it real. We want to keep it authentic. We don't have an agenda. We're not trying to get famous, whether famous comedians, famous musicians, our famous.
We do it because we love it. We do it because it's fun. That's what people need to know. I mean, people.
And that's all you can do, right? So if you watch this because you can sense our enjoyment and our passion, that's why you should watch it, and watch it for no other reason. So Matt, I'll give you the last words.
Yeah, no, and let's hope we do it again. And again, we do it because we have to get better and feel free to discuss whatever we want. And like I said, you can tell when we talk, for me, I have not lost my energy for Bernie. And so, when the RP comes knocking, if they're going to give me a platform to, talk mostly about Bernie, then I'm probably going to jump on board. If not, then I'm being honest because I don't think anybody's going to see this anyway. And if that doesn't turn out, then I'm going to be texting you and begging you again to do another podcast because I want to talk about Bernie and what's going on, because I do truly believe what you're saying is that this time around might actually be much tougher because, again, and you gave me the last word, they're diluting the field, I believe, on purpose. They're bringing in all these candidates to because they're trying to think out another method to steal this away from Bernie. And the way they do it is dilute the field, make him less powerful, divide all those primary votes that are coming up, make him look like he's not the front runner when we know he truly is. We were there the first time around. The momentum was tremendous. Again, the donations don't lie. What we saw by our own eyes doesn't lie, and they're going to try to steal it again. If you want to turn your back again and do that, that's your take. But my take is to try to spin you back around and get you back, focused on Bernie. And let's pray that this time it works out. I'm not promising anything, but to turn away now with the energy this is never going to happen again. And not in our lifetimes. We are not going to see, maybe Ocasio-Cortez, I don't know if we'll still be living when she's able to run for office. That's your guy's Bernie. Will be, down the road. That'll be Dell. But they're talking about Ocasio-Cortez. Ours is Bernie Sanders. So yeah, we have two people.
The children of Bernie. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking truth to power. The way you need to talk these days. It can't be diplomacy anymore. It's got to be when someone says, Bernie, the banks think you're dangerous. He's like, yeah, I am dangerous. When he says, am I going to tax rich people? You're damn right I'm going to tax people. It's got to be this real talk now. You can't have this diplomacy. It doesn't work. Right. It's not genuine. It's not real. So you got this one con man who's talking bullshit and talking real to these people. He's hitting them in their anger spots. And then you have this other guy who's talking to you like, no, this is the way it needs to be. I'm being genuine. I've been doing this for 40 years. Someone's got to stop talking all this bullshit. And that's what this podcast is. And maybe today's not the best show, or maybe we weren't as honest as we could be, and maybe we have restraints that you out there don't understand, whether it be a wife, a kid, a job, but we're trying to talk in the most real way that we can without putting ourselves in some sort of jeopardy. That's all I'm trying to do with this show. And I just happen to have great chemistry with Curtis because he understands stand-up comedy, how difficult it is. He understands campaigns and how difficult it is. He understands how difficult it is for me to wake up and be a normal human being on this planet that I don't even think I belong on. You know what I'm saying? Somehow he knows that. I don't know how. You're just lucky when you meet someone like that. So again, I appreciate, you giving me this platform. You do all the work. I've always told you it's all about you. I'm thankful and grateful always that you give me this opportunity. And it's not just blowing smoke up your ass, so you do it again. It's so that you genuinely feel it in your heart. I appreciate it, man. And hopefully we do this again.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. I feel the same. Bernie and Bernie and Trump both changed the game. So that's what people have to realize. And so we're going to try to follow that path as well and speak as authentically and as honestly as we can. Enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
Feel the burn.
Signing out.